Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu salam ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Halim salam bikum. This is Yahya Shabaka. And my dear brothers and sisters, I had a lot of trouble here with internet and computer. So please forgive me for being a little late. And also I have a new computer because our friends basically hurt my computer. So I want to welcome all of you here back. I have been on YouTube for a while. There's things going on. I had moved, and there's a lot of other things, happens when you move, get a new house and everything, things happen. So I want to start off today by a beautiful surah that I love tremendously. That's Surah 60. That's Surah Mumtahina. And it's a surah that's dealing with the woman. And it's a beautiful surah. And what is so intriguing about it is Subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wisdom and what he revealed to our Prophet ﷺ is very interesting because you have to understand how the Quran operates and Subhanahu wa ta'ala and how our Prophet ﷺ, just things that's happened. And then Subhanahu wa ta'ala then sends the hayat to the Prophet ﷺ. And he then reveals it, and then our Prophet then reveals it to us. And so this particular surah, Surah 60, is a beautiful surah. And it covers something that has been plaguing the Muslim community for a long time now. And that is the question about our relationship with the Muslim woman and the relationship with our enemies and our friends alike. And this particular surah kind of covers a good portion of this. I've talked about this surah a couple of times in other shows, and mine also I've given it a hayat here and there, talk a little bit about it. But the reason why I like this surah is because it has the ingenious of Subhanahu wa ta'ala in his words and how he revealed it to our Prophet ﷺ and how it guides us. Even today, we need to ponder this in order for us to be better Muslims and also to strengthen our relationships with Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then also have a better understanding of our relationship with the Muslim woman and with our enemies and our non-Muslim friends, because all of this is covered. So I'll start here with the first hayat in the Quran, and I will read this in Arabic because it's such an important hayat in the Quran. And then I'll give you the translation of this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tattakhidhu aduwwikum awliya'a tulquna ilayhim bil mawaddati wa qad kafaru bima ja'akum minal haqq yukhrijuna rasula iyyakum an tu'minu billahi rabbikum in kuntum kharajtum jihadan fi sabili أبتغاء مرضاتي تسيرون إليهم بالمودة وأنا أعلم بما أخفيتم وما أملمتم وما نفعله منهم فقد ضل سواء سبيل كلمات الله صدق الله العظيم. So what happened here in this particular surah? Well, we have to start off, the translation to this surah is that Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you who believe, take not my enemies and your enemies as protectors, friends showing affection towards them, while they have disbelieved in what has come to you of the truth. Now listen to what Subhanahu wa ta'ala said. This is interesting. He says, while they have disbelieved in what has come to you of the truth and have driven out the messenger and yourselves because you believe in Allah, your Lord. If you have come forth to strive in my cause and seek my good pleasure, you show friendship to them in secret, while I am aware of what you conceal and what you do. So here we go back to an issue that is not plaguing the Muslims, but a lot of Muslims can't explain this because our friends among the Jews and Christians believe that verses like this gives a blanket authority for us to mistreat them, to discriminate against them, to kill them outright, to steal from them, to lie to them, to mistreat them in all fashions. That's not the case. Here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the distinction, as if you heard me in other classes, I gave 4 distinctions of the non-Muslims. And the 4th one is the one that Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks a lot about. He is the one we're talking about here. He's the one who drives the Muslims out from his home or his city or his country where he's born in the United States, or he's in France. He drives you out, forces you to go to Morocco, or he forces you to go to Egypt. He forces you to go to Saudi Arabia. We're talking about these type. We have legislation and have power and rights and use the system against the Muslims. This is what we're talking about here, and this is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about do not take these people as your friends. You cannot take them as your friends. It's forbidden for us to take them as our friends. And you don't take them as protectors as well. Here also, we know in today's modern time, we have many our brothers and sisters who are friends in secret with them. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wisdom has covered all bases because he knows the human being. He's created us. So he knows our trials and tribulation. He knows what we conceal. He knows what we do. And he knows what we do in secret. Even though you or I may not know what Muhammad over here is doing, but he does know. And that's why he revealed, saying, yes, you take them in friendship, but I know what you are doing. This is why there's been creation from all the Ummah Fuqaha. We have what is called nawaqids. Nawaqids are expeditions from Islam because of your actions and your words. And number 8 covers this issue here. So every way you turn, those who say, well, look, you got to understand. Because I hear this all the time. Yeah, I work with them. I don't like them. I don't believe in what they say, but I work with them because I want to put food on the table. But in the meantime, the money he's receiving from those who are enemies to Subhanahu wa ta'ala, you hurt your brother. And your brother has the right to fight you, even though you are a Muslim, but you are hurting him because you decided to take the enemies of Allah as friends and protectors, and you take money from them, and then you go to hurt other Muslims. This is what he's talking about in this particular verse. And so here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear that those who do this have strayed far away from the religion. They are very close. He's not calling them yet disbelievers, but he's saying that they have went far away from the religion. They far away from their man. And this is why this verse here is very critical for today's Muslims, because we live in Europe, we live in America, we live in Canada, we live in Jamaica, we live in Brazil, and we live among disbelievers a lot. And we have troubled relationships with them. Many of us cross over into taking them as friends. Many of us cross over and taking even their women as wives. And we have all of these particular problems. And this is why this verse is still good for us today, because it's a mercy to mankind that Subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed it, because he knows the human being. And our prophet then relayed these messages to us. So that way it's good for all time, not just 1400 years ago, but today as well. And so this is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala is laid down to warn us. Now, why was this particular surah was revealed? Let's get into that. One of the first parts I'm going to mention is a woman. If you notice, the meaning of this particular surah means the pleading woman. This is actually the meaning of it in Arabic. Surah 60, Mutahina, is the pleading woman. Here we have a situation where there was the Exodus, as you know, the early stages of Islam, they were driven out of Mecca. So they decided to make their migration to Medina, which was called at the time Yathrib, but it was later changed to Medina. And all the Muslims, just about all Muslims, left the Medina left Mecca and went to Medina. This particular woman she also left, but she left for the wrong reasons. She was a singer, equivalent to what we have in a bar today. In the days of ignorance of many of the Arabs, they had bars, nightclubs where men hang out, fornicated, so forth. This woman was a singer in one of these bars. So since she lost her income, she decided to go to make the trek with the Muslims into the Medina. She went to the Prophet ﷺ and began to plead her case that because she was injured and now she had no money. The Prophet asked her in the hadith, he said, look, he says, what happened? He started to pay you? And she pleaded with him and about her plight. So he had one of the Sahaba to take care of her. Well, in the meantime, she didn't come to Islam. That's right, she did not come to Islam. And so the second part of this story goes to one of the companions, but he was not out from Quraysh, but he was aligned to Quraysh, the most prevalent of the Arab tribes at the time. And this is where our prophet came from. And he made his trek to Medina from Mecca. But his family still stayed behind. His wife and I think some of his family stayed there in Mecca. So what happened at this time, he heard about the Prophet ﷺ was going to go to make war and go and then take over Mecca, close it down once and for all from idolatry and bringing it to oneness of Allah, which is called Tawheed. And so what he did is he knew this woman was going back. This is the treachery here. He knew this woman was leaving. So he gave her a letter to warn the disbelieving Arab tribes who were living in Mecca and the leadership that it was an impending raid that was going to happen from the Muslims who were going to attack the Mecca. And so he gave it to this same pleading woman who went to the Prophet ﷺ and asked for assistance. So now she's carrying a letter back to Mecca to give it to the leadership to warn them that the Muslims were coming. What happened was Subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet ﷺ about this letter and who wrote it and the reason behind it. So our Prophet ﷺ sent some of the Sahaba to catch up with this woman. So they finally caught up with her. When they approached her, she said, no, I never received a letter. So they searched her belongings, searched her, so forth and so on, searched around her. They didn't find anything. So they became adamant because they know that our Prophet ﷺ doesn't lie. They know that when he receives the message from Subhanahu wa ta'ala, he doesn't lie. It's right on. So they begin to threaten the woman. They would remove her clothes to finally find this letter. So before it happened, she opened up her clothes and pulled out the letter. And the letter was clear. They brought the letter back to the Prophet ﷺ, and they brought forth the Sahaba, his name is Hatif, and brought him to the Prophet ﷺ. And Omar radiallahu anhu was so incensed at this treachery that he wanted to take his head. The Prophet ﷺ said no. He wanted to examine him. So he asked him what happened. He said a few things to him. He said he knew that the Muslims, even if he wrote the letter or he didn't write the letter, he knew the Muslims would prevail in a war against the Meccans. He knows that. But he wrote the letter in order to protect his family there from persecution in an event that the war takes place or is getting ready to take place, and it's learned that the Muslims will come to take Mecca, that they'll go after the Muslims again. So he said this is the reason behind his letter to this woman and to the leadership of Quraysh in Mecca. And so again, Omar radiallahu anhu wanted to take his head. He was so incensed, but the Prophet didn't. And he counseled him. He understood his motives, but his motives could have led to the death of many Muslims, or it could have led to the Meccans getting in better position to fend off the Muslims in attack, because if they're warned, they'll start to go out and start to have their allies come out and make the war against them very more difficult. So this is how this came about, and it's a sad epitaph because we have the same situation we have today. We have Muslims who are similar to this. They say, you know what? I can't find a job nowhere. Only job I can find is working with the enemies of the Muslims. And I'm not trying to hurt my brothers, but I want money. I need something. I got family at home that needs to be fed. And so this is why I go work with the enemy in order to put food on the table. This is a similar situation as we have here. It's wrong because in this situation here, Muslims are being hurt. Muslims are being disenfranchised. Muslims are being killed because of the treachery of our brothers and our sisters who do this sort of thing. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you, don't do it. Yes, you may be indigent at this time. You may need money, but you must put your faith in Subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you go to work against your brothers in situations like this, not only you hurt your iman, but you hurt the ummah. And we have thousands and thousands of Muslims today. This is why the position of the Tubab governments are so strong against the Muslims today, is because we have a large portion of our community is helping them to succeed in Muslim lands and to help with Islamic phobia, help in the masjids to go after Muslims. And if this stopped, if you take this portion of that away from the disbelievers, these governments, it would hurt them in their operation against the Muslims. But today you have a state strength. I don't care where you go. You can go Morocco to Egypt. You can go to Saudi Arabia. You can go to Iraq. You can go to Pakistan. It's the same formula everywhere. Malaysia, you have the same type of situation. He doesn't have no money. He needs money. He's got a son and daughter that's living in United States. He needs money in order to bring them back to the country. So he decides to go and enlist with the disbelievers who are enemies of Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they go to assist them and then take money in order to enrich their pockets, but also to strengthen their hold in the dunya. I can buy a car, I can buy a house with this money. I can do this. I can make travel, or I can bring a woman from the United States over into my country, or I can bring my mother and father, or I can bring my sons and daughters, something like back to my country, and so forth and so on. These are some of the things that the excuses that are used in order for us to work with the disbelievers and with the hypocrites as well. And so Subhanahu wa ta'ala is not happy about that. And this verse is revealed to keep us intact, so that way we don't have any of us joining with the disbelievers. But unfortunately, the Muslims today, a great majority, don't take heed to that. Now, let me get into some other factors here. There are three main points about this particular surah, which is so beautiful. We talk about the first part of it. We talk about the treachery, and we also talk about how Subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wisdom has given us guidance, and what happened with our prophet alayhi salatu when he received his revelation, not to work with the disbelievers. We covered that part. But there's a second part to this, because I know I will hear the same argument from our Christian and our Hebrew brothers and sisters, our cousins. And they will say, you just confirmed, Yahya, what we've been saying. You consider every one of us as the enemy. Let's talk about that. Now, let's fast forward here and go to Surah 8. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala here has made it clear that you can have friendships with the very people that that we talk about here, and you can now. I'm trying to find a part here. Okay, this is where is this? Okay. Now, the second part to this here is verse number 8. You can, okay, excuse me here for a minute. Yeah, I got the here. We got his 8:22. Okay. Verse 8. Now I'll read this in English language. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah forbids you not with regard to those who fight you not for your faith, nor drive you out from your homes, from dealing kindly and justly with them. For Allah loveth those who are just. We must have justice as Muslims. We must make the distinction between the enemies of Allah and the Muslims and the friends of the Muslims. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, you just now chastised the enemies, telling you to stay away from them. Don't take them as friends and protectors. On the surface, all of our brothers and sisters among the Christians and the Hebrews will turn and say, well, look, this is us. You're talking about all of us. No. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has now clarified who he's talking about. He says here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forbid you with regard to those who do not fight you for your faith, or to drive you out of your homes, from dealing kindly and justly with them. See, this is why I remember you heard me say many times, I talk about my brothers and sisters there in Compton, California, where I was raised. I love them dearly. And many of them has passed on now. There's not many of us left. And, they haven't tried to drive me out. They didn't talk against me. They didn't try to fight me for my faith. They didn't try to tell me to leave it and come to Christianity. They didn't tell me anything like that. So I can have friendships with them. Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that. And our Prophet ﷺ gave an example of this because he had dealings with Jews. He made trade with Jews as well. See, because these are the ones who did not fight the Prophet ﷺ. We're not saying that we can only take those who will come to Islam. He did not say that. What he said is that those who deal kindly, they can be Jews, they can be Christians, they can even be Hindus, they can be fire worshipers, they can be Juju or Orissa or the African traditional religions. You can take a whole gamut of people and have friendly dealings with them. How about our families? We have Muslims, and then we have family members who are not Muslims. They are Christians, or some are even atheists. We can still deal kindly with them. How about our mothers and fathers, our sisters and brothers who are not Muslims? We can deal kindly with them, as long as they don't fight us for our faith. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear in verse 8. He's made it quite clear. You can take these people as friends, meaning, again, we're not talking about now, okay, Yahya, you give me the authority now to go date the Christian woman. Now I can go to nightclubs with my friends. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about to deal kindly. have trade, talk with them, converse with them, see them on occasion, and so forth and so on. Talk to them on the telephone, write letters, check on them if they're sick. If they're sick, you can go to visit them. If one of them is needy right now, he lost his job because of the virus, you can go give him food. You understand this? You see what I mean? Because he's your brother, even though he's not a Muslim. He's your friend. You've been knowing him for many, many years. He's a good man. He never fought you for your faith. Now he's in a bad way. You have the right to go visit him. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is not stopping you. There's nothing telling any Muslim that those who deal justly with you, you have no right to go visit him. No, he's a human being, and he's in need. Remember what he says here: who are just. Justice is a byword for the Muslims. We are to exact justice at every turn we can. And this is that. When you have good, disbelieving people who don't believe in Subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they don't fight. They don't fight the Muslims. They don't legislate against the Muslims. You are to be just with them. You have no right to mistreat them. This is what we talk about here in verse 8 of this surah, Surah 60, verse 8. You must deal kindly with them. This is important because it'd be injustice on your part. You have no right as a Muslim to do this. And this is where we have the contention, because again, many of our brothers and sisters, non-Muslims, say that we Muslims have the right to mistreat them. No, we don't have the right to do that. So Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the distinction. You go to verse 1, he's telling you to stay away from them. Stay away from the enemies, my enemies and your enemies. Stay away from them. Don't take them as friends and protectors. Then he comes back to make a clarification. This is why in Islam, when you begin to learn become a student knowledge and so forth, you learn that every verse in the Quran, there's something. Either there's something that precedes it, or something that's up and coming, another verse or another surah, or that there's an hadith. This is why it's very dangerous when you do this type of thing, that you have to make sure that you understand what you are reading, because there may be something that abrogated that. And so Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear. Then number 9, he even makes it even more clear. He says, Allah only forbids you with regard to those who fight you for your faith. Now remember again, Salaam alaikum, my dear sister Abina. Salaam alaikum, my dear sister Amina. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear again. Number 8, he just said, our friends, ones we knew in before we became Muslims, say so to speak, or those that we've been knowing for many, many years, that we love them dearly, and they never fought us for our faith. He said, you treat them kindly. Then number 9, he gives you again clarification. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, only forbids you, this is verse 9, with regard to those who fight you for your faith and drive you out of your homes and support others in driving you out, from turning to them for friendship and protection. It is such a turn to them in these circumstances that do wrong. You are a wrongdoer for those who take the people like this. Again, verse 1, the enemies of Allah. This is what he's talking about, the enemies of Allah. He said that you taken them, he's against that. He said you have wronged yourself, that your iman is weak. And then he comes to number 8 and tell you about the same disbelievers, those who don't fight you, but they don't believe in Subhanahu wa ta'ala. You take them and you must be just with them. He's ordered you to be just with them. Then he gives you the further clarification in verse 9 by telling you, he says he only forbids you to go against those who fight you for your faith, who help to drive you out of your homes. And homes in this regard, country like United States, you can't go to pray because the police come after you. You try to go to work, they stop you every turn. They go after your family and so forth and so on. They finally drive you out. You have to leave the United States in order to find comfort and safety where you can practice your faith and so forth and so on. This is what he's talking about here. And don't take these people, turn to them for friendship and protection. Don't do it. So this is something I'm hoping my brothers and sisters in the future take this film here and review this, because we field a lot of questions, the Muslims, about our relationship with the disbelievers. And you hear many things, even Muslims who do not know how to actually answer this question. make more mistakes a lot of times than helping, even though they don't mean no harm. This is why, again, my brothers and sisters, it's important for you as Muslims to learn your religion and learn the Kitabillah, the Quran. Learn it and get under somebody so you can be taught it. Because when you are fielded with questions from family members who are not Muslims, you're fielded from questions when you hear something is said, and your son is in school, he's in college, he took a course, a history course, and suddenly you have non-Muslims, you know how it is, ragging Islam, talking crazy, saying that we can kill them at will, and they start pulling out the Quran and say, look, this is Surah 9. It says here that you're supposed to make war against us. You must learn your religion, my brothers and sisters, so you can combat this. And you don't have to yell and scream with them. You can point out this particular surah here to explain to them what subhanahu wa ta'ala means. Surah 60 is that saving grace for you, my brothers and sisters. It is your saving grace. It can help you to discern. When the disbelievers come to you, and they do come with these type of things here, you can say, hey, look, the Muslims not warmongers. We don't have authorities to kill you anytime we want. We see somebody who's a Christian or Jew, we can go and kill them. No, it's not the case. So I wanted to get that clear so that way our brothers and sisters who live in the West in particular, and they have problems in this regard, they can bring out this particular surah when they start bringing out Surah 9, because they don't understand the history. They don't understand Surah 9. They only take some words out of it. But you can give them this. You can give them Surah 60, and you can explain things, and also explain the relationship with the woman. Now I'm going to get into that, about the Muslim woman, how important subhanahu wa ta'ala has made her in the Islamic framework. She's an major integral part. And he's given her some rights and powers here. And he's given warnings to the men how they cannot mistreat them. One of the most glaring things is that in the Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala, we as men have no right to go after a woman. Say we fell in love with her, and then she turns right back around. She says, no, I don't want to marry you, Yahya. I don't want to marry you, Yahya. I just don't. I want to marry another man. I go to slander her. I run to the man she's going to marry, or I run to the community and say, you know what? I seen, Amina, she's running with the man across the street. She's run over here to this man, and you start to spread this through the whole community. Subhanahu wa ta'ala get you for this. He's made it clear in the Quran. There's a severe penalty for this, to give protection to the good Muslim woman. Here we have number 10. Now we get into the part. Remember, we have the woman who was pleading with the Prophet ﷺ. She was not a Muslim. She was a singer in a bar. They had those bars in Mecca at that time for men only to go there to be entertained and so forth. But when that income left, she came to Medina, and the Prophet ﷺ dealt with her, and he was kind with her, and he had her to be taken care of. And then she left. She didn't become a Muslimah. He didn't order her to become a Muslimah either, but he said, okay, I'll let you, to your way. So she left. So here, verse 10, subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear again about the relationship we have with the Muslim woman in these circumstances, because we have this to happen, and we have things that get our brothers, our Muslim brothers, in trouble, especially in America in particular, in Europe as well, but America in particular. Number 10, verse 10, this is Surah 60 again, verse 10, subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O ye who believe, when there come to you believing women refugees, examine them. Allah knows their faith. If you ascertain that they are believers, then send them not to unbelievers." Let me stop there. Listen to this, my dear brothers. You have sisters, and say you go to another city. Now we look for modern times here, and say new sisters come, to the masjid, so forth. And you have the right to question, especially if there's some certain circumstances, you have the right to question about their faith. And in no circumstances do you ever turn a Muslim sister over to a disbeliever so he can deal with her. You see what's happening in China, right? You see what's happening in Burma. You see what happened to the Muslim woman when the disbelievers have got to them, when there's no protection for her. You see what they've been ravished. Look at China. And there's other countries too where the Muslim woman's not protected. The Muslim man cannot protect them. And you see what's happened to our sisters. Here, subhanahu wa ta'ala has said here that you cannot turn her over. Now, we're in a Muslim country, and the disbelievers turn back around and say, you know what? We want to take some of your women out. We have certain women we have by name here. We want them. They're Muslims. They're believing women. They pray. They are active in the community. And we have tuba. Governments come to us and they say, look, we have a whole slew of these women here. We'll give you these 100 names. We want them. You turn them over to us in France. Or you turn them over to the United States. You turn them over to Canada. You cannot do it, my brothers and sisters. You cannot. You're forbidden. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you do not turn over a believing woman to a believer. Nor do you give her hand in marriage to a disbeliever. It's forbidden. You cannot do that. He says here further, they are unlawful wives for the unbelievers. If disbelievers come, which they're doing a lot now, they come to Muslim lands. Why? We're adults here. Let's be frank and honest about this. A lot of disbeliever men come to the countries of the Muslims because they want to go after the last remaining virgins. We're men and women here. We talk frankly. They perceive, because it is true, that the Muslim woman, as a general rule, we still maintain our virginity, our women do. Some are even 40 years old and still have not had any illegal sexual relations. The disbelievers know that. So they have this thing in their mind. They want to ravish and con and get a Muslim woman because they know that when they get to her, she's not full of diseases. She has not been with another man. See, but these kind of men are off limits to our sisters. No way should a disbeliever be able to come to you as a Muslim man, as a brother, a father, or something, and come to you and he said, look, I want to marry Amina, or I'm looking at her. I really like her. Can I go and date her? You, in this circumstance like this, you should explain the rules of Islam to him. If he insists to this, if he doesn't take heed to this, then you have a right to deal with him and deal with him harshly to protect her. This is what we're talking about here. They are not lawful wives for the unbelievers, and nor are the believers lawful for husbands for them. Now, this is the other issue. Turn this switch around. We have disbelieving women today. We have many brothers in the United States marry them. We are forbidden, my brothers and sisters, from that. Because there's rules that when you take a woman who's Christian or Hebrew, she has to meet certain criteria before, yes, it's a rule. We can marry Jews and we can marry Christians, but there's rules to that. And it's deep. I won't get into that. I've covered this on other shows. I won't get deep in that. But as a general rule today, most of the women cannot meet that litmus test in order for you to marry her because she's a Jew or Christian. She doesn't meet that test. There's some that do, but most of them don't. And this is the problem what we have today, especially in America, where we have brothers marrying these women. And what happened? They end up on a divorce block. They end up in jail. They end up losing jobs. They end up having problems, and so forth and so on. Because when you marry this girl and you try to make her into a Muslim by telling her this and that, she say, look, you can't tell me what to do. Hey, I'm American. I'm an American woman. I'm a modern American woman. Yeah, I married you. I love you. But you have no control over me. And she runs out of the house when she wants. She feels phone calls from men. You can say nothing. She comes to you. You come home from work and she's all perfumed up. And she said, hey, look, I'm going to go out with my friends. You can't stop her from that. This is why it's forbidden, my brothers and sisters, from marrying these non-believing women because they will hurt you. Subhanahu wa ta'ala made some laws for a reason. So this is part of this of 10. And there's some other parts too here about the guardianships and so forth for unbelieving women. and so forth. If you do take them and then they come to Islam and then you spend dowry, this is a beautiful thing for in Islam, my brothers and sisters. In Islam, we have this dowry system because we have respect for our Muslim women. When you find a woman that you want to marry, there's a dowry in English that you must adhere to. So when you go to her family and you propose this marriage, she's there and you propose. A negotiation occurs between the prospective husband and this prospective wife. And a price is laid down or nothing. He may say, look, I offer 2,000 US dollars or 400 because, in today's time, we have problems in that. I won't get into that, but we have exorbitance now. We have many women who are asking for dowry that is making a man has to go to Bank of America, so to speak, in order to get a loan in order to pay her. And some have done this and they've been hurt by this in the long run. So this is, again, an important factor with us about the dowry when we marry a woman. And so I'm going to basically stop at this particular junction here of this particular surah. And I'll cover some in a couple of days, inshallah ta'ala. And because it's a short surah, but it's very encompassing. And I'm hoping that those in the future who will see this will get this and learn from it and to explain it, especially to our brothers and sisters who are Hebrews and Christians, because we want them to understand our philosophy towards them and towards the enemy, because we are not warmongers, or we are not haters of mankind. We're not that. We just have rules that we have to abide by, and this is the order from our Prophet ﷺ. And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has laid orders down, as you can see, as I read that in his book for us as Muslims, and so this, again, my brothers and sisters, in a nutshell, the first version of the Surah Mumtahina is about our relationship with the enemies of Allah. Then you have to go back and look what happened. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala revealed this to our Prophet because of two circumstances. One, the pleading woman who left Mecca because she has no money, and she came in the migration with the Muslims to the Medina, but she never came to Islam. And then the second part to that is one of the companions, Muslims, gave her a letter to warn the Meccans of a pending attack. He did this in order to protect his family there in Mecca, not to hurt the Muslims, but he felt he wanted to protect them. So he gave it to this pleading woman. She in turn took this letter back. She was trying to get to Mecca, but Subhanahu wa Ta'ala again told our Prophet, hey, you got to stop this woman, because one of our brothers gave her a letter to warn the Meccans of our impending attack on them. And so our Prophet, again, he sent these the companions to overtake the woman, and they did, and they finally found the letter. She did have it as specified by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and the Prophet then dealt with our brother, ancestral brother, who made this big error, and it was a lesson for us. So this is why this verse was revealed. It was to give us a lesson. There's other lessons to this. The first lesson is about us and our relationship with the disbelievers. The second part of the lesson is we have the right to be kind and just with our Christian and Hebrew brothers and sisters, even fire worshipers, even those who practice juju or practice Ifa or practice Orissa or any other African traditional religion, or if they are into Taoism or Shintoism in Japan. We have the right to deal with those who do not fight with us, meaning we have a right to be kind with them. This is the verse talked about that. That's the part, again, the second part we covered. I'll get to the third part, inshallah ta'ala, in another day. And then Subhanahu wa ta'ala again made the clarification to explain to you in verse 9 that he forbids you to have friends and friendships with those who fight you, who fight the Subhanahu wa ta'ala, who legislates against Subhanahu wa ta'ala and against the Muslims. And so, and who drive Muslims out. What do you think is happening today, my brothers and sisters? We have Muslims who've been driven out of their land. I'm one of them. I could not practice my faith. And many Muslims are not being able to practice their faith, and many cannot leave. When they do leave, they leave because they cannot practice their faith fully as prescribed by Islam. So here, when they you do not take these and turn it to them for friendship and protection. You cannot do it. This is against your faith, and we have expediations for this when the Muslims do take these type of enemies as friends and protectors. You cannot do it, my brothers and sisters. So Subhanahu wa ta'ala is again explaining that to us. So I'm hoping, my brothers and sisters, today that you got something out of this to understand our relationship as Muslims, to understand who we can be friends with, and as disbelievers and non-believers, and who those we're not to be friends with, and whatnot. And for our sisters, he explains here about our sisters in that we are to treat them kindly. But not only that, when some come to you, you have the right to examine. You get ready to marry a woman, you have the right to examine her. Now, don't misinterpret my word when I mean examine. I don't mean, that you can examine her in Western ways. I know what I mean by that you can date her for a while, or you can kiss her and hold hands with her, or do other things to see how she is first. We don't do that. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about this here. We're talking about examining her faith. And you have the right, you think about marriage with her, and you go to her and you want to, you have a right to ask her, hey, sister, how do you feel about night prayers? Or how do you feel about Ramadan? What do you do? How would you do this inside the house during Ramadan? What about the meals? How do you feel about this? What about children? What's your philosophy? This is what we're talking about examination. This is the examination. We're talking about Islam. We ain't talking about dating. It's forbidden. You cannot do this. Subhanahu wa ta'ala here is giving you the right to examine in circumstances. Refugee women. Okay, again, now we have women coming from Pakistan. We have women coming from Afghanistan. We have women coming from Myanmar. They're going to places now in other parts of the world. Say this sister comes to you and you see her. She's beautiful. You like her. You have the right, again, like Subhanahu wa ta'ala, she's a refugee woman. You have the right to examine her. Examine her in the right context. Like here we talk about here. Talk to her about her faith. Talk to her about children. You talk to her about marriage. You talk to her about the home maintenance. You talk to her about what is her knowledge, what she understands about the Sharia Islamiyah. You talk to her in many different ways in order to understand her, and so that way you can make a good choice. This is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about here, that you have the right to examine. And again, the last part of that, and I will close. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, you examine, you see how they are. She is a good woman. Now say if she did leave from Afghanistan, and now she's here and you see her and whatnot, you have no right. You found she is a believer. She's a Muslimah. You have no right, my brothers, to send her back to Afghanistan, or send her back to Pakistan, or send her back to Iran, or you send her back to Myanmar or Bangladesh or any other place for some disbelieving government or officials to handle her. It's forbidden, my brothers and sisters. You cannot do it. You must protect the Muslim woman. Even if she's a refugee, you're satisfied with her iman, now you must protect her. This is incumbent upon you. This is an order from Subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you, my dear brothers, Muslim men. You have the power and strength to do this, so you must protect her. And don't give her in marriage to disbelievers. This is all encompassing in verse 10. Surah 60, verse 10, Subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids you, my brothers and sisters, for giving believing women to disbelievers. No way, cannot do it. And he explains that. So I explain this first part of this surah, and I will get back to the other parts here in a couple of days or so, inshallah ta'ala. And I will say it's good to go back now on YouTube and to get back into the framework of talking about lessons and talking about the Quran, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me permission to come back and do it. I was very busy for months on end and moved and got another house in a good area. And so you know how that is. You have things you have to do and so forth and so on. So I've been quite busy and everything like this. And I wanted to start back with this beautiful surah, Surah 60, Mumtahina. It's a beautiful surah. And it's got so many things and jewels of wisdom in it for us Muslims and Muslimas in order for us to learn from that. And also, especially for our brothers and sisters in the West. You can, thank you, my dear sister Abina. And you can learn from this, and now you can go to, deal with disbelievers, non-Muslims, and your friends, and you can now have the peace of mind of knowing that if you understand that verse 8, you have the right to be friends with your brothers and sisters who you grew up with in Compton, or in Long Beach, or in Dallas, or in Atlanta, Georgia, or any other place, and you know they don't fight you for your faith. You can be friends with them. You can keep your friendships with them. You can love them dearly and keep those friendships with this. Nothing Subhanahu wa ta'ala says you have a right to deal kindly with them. This is a beautiful thing about Islam. Our religion is beautiful. You understand it, it gives you peace of mind. We call it sakina, as-sakina. We talk about the tranquility, the peace. This is what the Quran does to you when you learn it and you begin to implement it into your life. How you doing, my dear brother? Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother Isaac. And this is a beautiful, beautiful thing about our religion. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid it out. Every framework, learn it, understand it, and then spread it. So my brothers and sisters, I'm hoping that you did get something out of this, and those in the future who see this, and I'll come back to you in a couple of days, and we'll finish up on this particular surah. And I'm hoping that you did receive information from this, and it help you in discerning how to act as a Muslim. And again, I'm glad to be back here to see people like my brother Isaac and Sister Bina and Sister Amina, and those who will show up in the future, my brothers and sisters, non-Muslims and Muslims alike. So I'll conclude with that, and I'll leave you with the beautiful words of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.